There are many speculations and assumptions about the genuine LifeVac airway clearance device being spread on social media sites and by individuals. Sadly, these false assumptions are also being spread by organisations that, instead of undertaking research, believe that their opinions have more authority even than the TGA. Here are some of the false things we have heard. The first myth is that all suction airway devices are the same. This is incorrect. Anything available through bargain shopping sites is either a counterfeit or an untested, experimental and unapproved medical device being sold illegally. They use false claims and steal genuine stories from LifeVac to deceive consumers. The genuine patented LifeVac device is only manufactured for Australia in the US. The next myth we encounter is that all evidence for the LifeVac is biased because it is solely manufacturer-sponsored and therefore not real evidence. Well, 5 years ago, when no one was interested in a novel device that could save lives, this may have had some truth, but this is how all medical devices start out. Since then, there has been 13 independent studies, validation and reviews of the evidence by the FDA, TGA and MHRA that found that our claims are accurate and there is no significant harm, delay or failure. To suggest that 5,800 case reports are all biased, even when submitted by health professionals, is not only illogical but an insult to their professionalism and the efforts of trained individuals desperately trying to save a life when first aid couldn't. Interestingly, although only based on poor quality evidence, there is no surveillance, reporting or analysis of the success or failure of first aid measures. There is a hypothesis that they might work, but no proof that they do in every circumstance. The regulatory process for medical devices is much more robust at ensuring safety and efficacy than any resuscitation council consideration. Each year in Australia, there are over 700 deaths caused by choking, most after the failure of first aid. Considering it has not been the LifeVac that has failed, logically there must be another cause. One of the most frequent myths or logical fallacies we hear is that the LifeVac is not in the ANZCOR guidelines, so it can't be used. This belief requires several errors in logic and reason and the acceptance of a list of fallacies. Firstly, the ARC that produces the ANZCOR guidelines is not a regulator of first aid practice nor medical devices. There is no legal approval or legislative assent to these unenforceable guidelines and no legal protection offered in an emergency by strict adherence. And the ARC has no role in the approval of anything, least of all the use of medical devices in an emergency. Regardless, LifeVac is used after first aid fails, therefore outside, additional to first aid and not a replacement, so the suggestion of guideline inclusion being necessary is a moot point. Further to this is the necessary belief that ARC guidelines are evidence-based, so LifeVac mustn't be. This again is a fallacy. The ARC guidelines on choking are divergent from the worldwide consensus of evidence, and some elements have no scientific evidence, research or proof of efficacy. They are merely internal, non-peer-reviewed opinions. Therefore, the notion that evidence is the bar for any recommendation is a fallacy. Just reading the evidence doesn't mean that the opinion-based guidelines resulting from this are evidence-based. We also know that the ARC has not considered any of the 13 published research papers on LifeVac over at least the past 5 years and has flatly refused to undertake any review of their position. This is not how science is meant to work. The TGA considered all the concerns raised by the ARC during its 2-year-long post-market review and concluded that the concerns not only had no evidence, but were determined to be not motivated by the welfare of Australians. While it would be helpful for the LifeVac to be in guidelines, there is no requirement under any law, legislation, or training regime that requires this, and this is based on direct advice from SafeWork and Esquire. When making a decision about LifeVac, it is best to resist relying on the unsubstantiated and unevidenced opinions of individuals and groups that lack a knowledge of research evidence and regulation. Also, be careful about people who cite opinion-based conclusions from studies but can't back it up with the evidence to prove that the conclusion is proven in the research, or just inserted by the author to present a biased, unsubstantiated view. Unfortunately, the literature peer review process does not alleviate this kind of bias. Also consider the cascade of myths and logical fallacies that the opinion is asking you to accept without validation or any authority. We hope this cleared up a few things for you today. We have always been happy to debate the facts, and we are happy to do this in any forum.